Got it. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Flailing Forward podcast. I am Dustin Seiler, broadcasting to you here from the Batcave, apparently, because I can't get my lighting right. And I'm here with my co-host, Heather Witzig, who has great lighting. Heather, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for being here as well. I'm having a little hard time seeing you, but who needs to see your face?
That's right. I'm going to get a flashlight and just shine it directly in my face.
I already told him he looks like a serial killer, so
This is either the Batcave or the Dexter Lab, depending on which way we decide to go here. So
I think we're all Dexter fans here. Let's be honest.
There we go. Hopefully there's no copyrights on that. Can I mention Dexter? We just did. So it's out there now. Great show, by the way. So guys, what we do on the Flailing Forward podcast is we talk about our flailing accomplishments, the way that we've learned, what we've done throughout our life in entrepreneurial situations and real estate related situations. And we like to find out the stories that everybody has that's unique to them and how it's helped in their growth and their accomplishments. And I have a very special guest today because my guest is our very own co-host, Heather Witzig. Yay!
Yay! So excited to be here.
Yes, thanks for joining us. Heather is a Sub2 mastermind and Gator OG represent.
What?
She is a reformed short-term rental super host turned nomadic capital raiser. She's the founder of the Heat Investors, also known as the Heat Honeys. And with her partner, Jessa, she's shaken up the industry with their groundbreaking lending programs. To date, they've raised over $1.5 million. Is that correct?
Oh, for sure. I think, yeah.
At least. They've found a real niche in connecting lenders with those in need of funding, and they're helping people achieve double-digit returns. So her next ventures are going to include creatively buying private equity and real estate, and no doubt she will soon conquer those as well. So Heather, thanks for being our guest today.
That sounds great. I think we're done. You pretty much covered everything.
That was it. Story over. No flailing. We're just doing great.
Just so y'all know, I really hate being interviewed. So this is going to be really cringy, I'm sure, but it's okay. Just keep listening. You're going to get some gems, I'm sure.
It's going to be fantastic. We're just here to hear the story and take away some pointers and some tips and tricks and get to know you a little bit better. So what a lot of people, I know we have people that have watched our past episode and most of them already know Heather, but what they may not know is that even though she is a superstar Sub2 and Gator member now, that's not where she started out. Heather, it actually took you a few years of analysis paralysis, could we say, to get started?
I would say definitely there was some analysis and some paralysis going on. I probably spent about 3 to 4 years in the Bigger Pockets podcast and YouTube University. I was learning as much as I can, really excited, but also just kind of unsure what to do with it and where to go. Didn't want to make a mistake, didn't really have, at the time, didn't have Pace Morby in my ear saying, nah, break some stuff, get out there and we got you. Like, we'll help you. We'll figure it out and make sure you don't flail too hard and don't fail too hard. So, I spent a lot of time, which was great. A lot of time just kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do and save up a little bit of money and kind of get into it. But yeah, finally I got out of that and bought my first investment property in Columbus, Ohio, back, I don't know, probably 3 years ago. I don't know. I'm gonna have to do the math, something like that. Yeah, gotcha. And finally broke through and did that and learned a lot and failed a lot on that one.
And so it sounds like you were doing it on your own at that time, just kind of learning, lone wolf, and you purchased this first investment property. It was a single family rental, is that right?
Yeah, it was a single family house that was on the market for a really long time. I found that I just didn't really, it was right when the market was super hot. Of course, we remember those days, It was, everything was going for 50 to 100,000 over ask at that point. So I just kind of said, okay, well, maybe I'll buy the ugliest house in the area that was flipped. It was already had been flipped, very poorly, I might add. It wasn't done very nicely. It was just, it had a lot of issues. I didn't realize it had a lot of issues under the surface as well, but should have thought about that, and bought it sight unseen, and moved myself from Southern California. I was in Dana Point at the time, and moved to Columbus, Ohio by myself, and moved into the house so I could kind of renovate it and get it going as a short-term rental.
Gotcha. So did you do an inspection on this house before you bought it?
Oh yes, I
But
did that.
it didn't come up with some of the issues, huh?
It didn't cut the mustard, let's just say. It was,
Gotcha.
and then I found out after the fact that they have a lot of, and I say they, the inspectors have kind of some get out of Dodge clauses that make it, there was one of the biggest things that happened when I moved in. There was drop ceiling in the master bedroom closet, or primary closet is what we're supposed to be saying now. And apparently they didn't look, they didn't pop the tiles and look what's under there. And would I have if I would have been there? Maybe not. I don't know. But what was behind there, what I found out after a flood of water was flooding
Oof.
from the second floor to the bottom floor after I took a shower the first week I was there. I found out that there was just a ton of black mold that had been probably growing for a year plus
Ooh.
behind the walls, behind it was the master bedroom closet, and also the bathroom. So
Yeah.
lots of things learned from that. Definitely
Surprise.
try to go see something before you buy it and drive across country, and but again, learned a lot, and
Yeah.
was able to get that fixed, and and
Yeah.
a lot of other things as well. So that was just the first little cherry on top of, oh, okay, yeah, I should have maybe put some eyes on this myself, especially being a first time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you want to trust that your inspector is going to be out there doing what's best for you and being very thorough, but it's hard when you don't have someone you've worked with before or a trusted recommendation and you're just trying to find somebody. You never know what you're going to get. It's a little bit of a crapshoot. And
Yeah.
sounds like there was a few surprises here in this one for you.
Yeah, definitely. I learned a lot, and she was also, so this house was over 100 years old, so there's a lot of bodies buried in there, I think.
Ooh, we're back to
as they
Dexter. We're back to
as
Dexter
they
again.
say. Yes. That was just one of the many fun things. But I am so proud after, maybe 4 to 5 months, there were a lot of kind of unforeseen issues with people that I had working on it. I learned a lot from that experience, just working with contractors, and obviously trying to do things on a budget too, which you get what you pay for sometimes. So
Mhm.
there's a couple things I learned in there too, but she looks great, and got her into short-term rentals, and was able to actually, for the, I think, what did I have? I had her on. I call her Old Bluebell is what her name was.
Hey, there we go. There
Yeah,
we go. Sounds like a
I
lovely lady.
yeah. She's she's like a Betty White. She's been around the block. But she's got some lipstick on. She's looking
There
good.
you go. She ages with
Um,
class.
yeah, exactly. So got her on Airbnb and everything like that, and actually within a few months I got Superhost, and I designed her myself too. I put a lot of
Mhm.
effort into kind of making her look really unique, and some really interesting color choices, and just really tried to make her stand out. And I was able to, where everything else was 55% occupied in the neighborhood, I, for a few months, I even had her like at 95 to 98% occupied. So I was able to
Yeah.
translate it to actually having people book it. So that was really awesome.
Go you. That's impressive. What was your secret for keeping occupancy rates that high?
It was just the fact that I made her look really unique. I mean, I had this kind of a showstopper dining room.
Mhm.
I made it sort of this, what color was it? Like a sage green wall color. So really deep, kind of sexy colors. and really kind of like the rug in there had palms on it. It was just, and it like I don't know, we'll throw some pictures up or do something. I'm sure somebody can add something to the video here. And
We've got old Bluebell, who's now like a sexy Betty White. I love it. It's
I
fantastic.
know. So I think people just were, they saw it and it wasn't just that, because there were a lot of really nice Airbnbs, even the next door neighbor, his was an Airbnb too, and it was done
Mhm.
really well. It was just nondescript. It really wasn't.
Mhm.
I wanted something that kind of stood out, really had some like really nice, awesome, unique things. I spent probably $500 at a antique store and
Yeah.
got some really cool stuff for, all the different areas on the mantles and things like that. So I just kind of put a lot of effort into it, I think, and that's what translated into, having a lot of people interested in it, and a lot of people that said, wow, I just like, it stopped me in my tracks, and it
Yeah.
was something that I wanted to stay at.
I think it sounds like you were maybe even a little bit ahead of the game, because now we're seeing people try and make those more Instagrammable type of homes. But back when you bought this, there was a run on short-term rentals and everybody felt like they could get into the game. But you were really
Yeah.
setting yourself apart with that uniqueness, and that something that's going to be more memorable. It's going to stand out away from the crowd and really jump out and grab somebody and give them something they're going to remember and be able to take pictures and want to share with their followers.
Yeah, I had seen quite a few of them in other markets, but I really didn't see very many of them in this market. And then on top of that, I think within a few months after she was out, that was when Airbnb changed and did they started kind of doing the oh my god, and some of the
Mhm.
other things that they did. So it was a little bit. I definitely got the idea from other people, but it wasn't necessarily my idea, but it was a little ahead of that curve, which was nice.
Sure. Yeah, that's great. Standing out from the crowd, never a bad thing. So that's always good. What after you changed superhost status, you're no longer in short-term rentals, correct?
Nope, reformed. I mean,
What made that
not
change?
not saying I won't buy another one. It just didn't want to I didn't want to own anymore in Columbus.
Mhm.
I'd had plenty of things go on there that, I just kind of realized that, Columbus wasn't where I wanted to live. Great city. It was fun. It was fine. But yeah, there was a couple things, definitely one of them was I after I got her all, I think it was after I got her all, and I was about to kind of get it up and running on a short-term rental sites. There was actually a drive-by shooting. There's actually some of those, I wouldn't say frequently, but just in Columbus in general.
Mhm.
I had heard after the fact, after I moved there, that there's a bit more crime than initially I looked into crime rates, and it
Right.
didn't seem too bad, but a little bit more
More than
out of that,
expected.
more than expected. And so actually I ended up narrowly missing, being hit by like 9 bullets that went through my front area there, and
Oof.
they shot up the whole street. There was a few bullets in a few of the places, but apparently my house was the target because they were told that this was where somebody lived. So there
Oh,
was a bit of
wow.
that. Yeah, there was a lot of so it was kind of a mistaken identity sort of a thing, which,
Yeah.
thank God I was leaving right at that point. So I walked through the front to the back, and then it was like 15 seconds later that happened. So it was just really close.
Oh my gosh.
So there's just a lot of little things. I was like, I think I'm ready to. Okay, we're gonna fix those. I learned how to patch up bullet holes. I mean, that's a great trick that now it's a party trick. Just in case.
Learning experience. Great story, right?
Yep.
But I don't know. I hear that drive-by shootings tend to decrease your ratings on the listing sites. So
Luckily, it was, thank God. I mean, thank God it was, and nothing like that. I mean, I was friends with the neighbors, and we all
yeah,
talked afterwards, and this had nothing like that had ever happened, and they had been there for years and years and years, and lovely people live on that block, but it's still a transitional area, so
sure.
there's, a bit of, activity that happens here or there, but there was nothing like that before, so it was just, kind of a one-off. So I was just grateful that I was leaving and it wasn't being rented out yet
Yeah.
to anyone, and no one got hurt, luckily, either. So that was a blessing. So
Right.
yeah.
Well, and then when you decide, I mean, once that happened and you decided to get out of this, you kind of, what was the path that led you to subject to and creative finance? Because that ended up helping you on this home.
Yeah, yeah, I ended up, so I think, I was still, I got it up and running and started renting it out, and moved out of it, obviously, at that point, and moved to Florida. And then, so I was doing it kind of, remotely. I was hosting it and getting people in there and getting people excited about it. Remind me what your question was? Where my
What led you to creative financing
Hmm.
and subject to?
Yeah, so I had been following Pace for like probably a year, or maybe close to a year at that point, and in YouTube University, and I was like,
Hmm.
this is so cool. I love the concept of being able to buy creatively and all that. So I think it was right around the time I had moved out. Yeah, it was probably, I joined Sub 2 and then Gator, like maybe 3 months before, or 3 months after I moved out.
Hmm.
So it was relatively quick. I was in Florida and just kind of wanted to get out of the corporate world and everything. So it just kind of, everything sort of just happened all at once right around there. And ended up getting into Sub 2, and then a few months later, the Gator Tribe. And that's really when kind of everything took off for me. I started my business, and it just sort of kind of went on from there. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, right off the bat, it helped you dispo this home in Columbus, right?
yeah.
How
I
did you
ended
end up
up.
moving that? What was your dispo plan on that?
I really just was open minded to selling it at that point, because not at that point, but I think it was probably almost a year later after I moved out. It was close to a year. And I had just been considering, getting rid of things in my life that just, I didn't want to do anything else in Columbus. So I was like, well, why am I going to have this one off in Columbus,
Hmm.
if if I'm going to just be in other markets, and do other things. And so, she was doing really good still.
Hmm.
And I just ended up selling it actually to another investor friend of mine, and who's also in Sub 2. And, because he was doing a lot of investing in Columbus already. So it just sort of made sense. And
Gotcha.
so I ended up selling it for more than I would have been able to if I would have sold it on the MLS, because I sold it on subject to and hybrid,
Hmm.
or well, hybrid, subject to and seller finance.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I was able to kind of learn what I needed to in Sub 2, and be able to kind of dispo it that way. And I didn't even put it out for anybody else. It was just like a conversation. Hey, I know you mentioned you might be wanting to get a short-term rental at some point, that way you have a place to stay when you're in town, because he was
Yeah.
a long distance investor. And just kind of worked out. We did some negotiating, and, set up the numbers for it, and it ended up working out.
Was he in Sub 2 as well? Was he familiar with creative or?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. So you didn't have to do a lot of educating. It worked out well for both of you. Get this deal
Yeah.
done.
And guess what? 2.5% interest rate.
Whoo! That's a win right there.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
nice. That's nice. Now, a lot of people, so there may be some people that are not familiar with Subject 2 and Gator. Subject 2 is a community created by Pace Morby that deals with creative financing, essentially largely in real estate, but also in all aspects of life. And Gator is another similar community that deals with sort of the funding side of things. But what a lot of people that are part of those communities know, they know you from the early days as a transaction coordinator.
Yeah, yeah, I learned a lot about when you're a TC, which is a transaction coordinator. Learn a lot about paperwork. I had been, in my 20s, I was in commercial property management, so I dealt with a lot of contracts and paperwork at that point. So I just, as in the early days of Sub 2 and Gator, when I was first in it, that was sort of the direction I was going in, because I was like, well, I'm obviously also going to be a buyer of real estate. And that was kind of how, when I got into Sub 2, it was that was my thought is I'll be a buyer and I'll also learn something where I can actively make money since I was no longer working in the corporate world. So I'd build a
Mhm.
business like that. Learned TC and learned a lot at that point. And just kind of at the same time, I was getting into Gator lending
Mhm.
and just lending in general. And that sort of just really blew up my skirt a lot more than, TC was great. And it was definitely a learning experience. And it helps me every day to this day still. But it was something that I had to pick a lane because I had to go all in to one of them. And it was just like the lending side of things really just, for whatever reason, really was the path that I was like choosing.
Sure.
So I kind of at that point I sort of went down that lane and sort of I'll still do a little bit of TC here and there, and then we're hiring people for our team now too that do TC. So
Mhm.
so that's kind of how that definitely helped me though in the early stages of just learning contracts, the creative contracts and the lending contracts and things like that. It really did. It put me where I am today. I think just learning
Mhm.
those things.
Would you recommend for people who are just getting started to learn those contracts, or with TCs, can they get by without knowing those contracts as long as you have a good transaction coordinator on your side?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could do either. I personally am one of those people that like to learn enough about something so that I know what a good somebody in that role is doing, right? I
Mhm.
want to know, if they're I want to know like what they're doing. And if I don't know anything about the contracts, how do I know that they're even that good? Um, does that
Right.
mean that it's going to fit everybody to be able to go into something like that and learn it themselves first? No, but I think for
Yeah.
me, I am a little bit more of that person that wants to know. And I really did think that I was going to kind of start a TC company and build that. So I really went into it with the thought pattern of actually like doing that, and it just ended up being I had to. Both of them were very time consuming, the lending
Mhm.
side and the TC side. So I had to pick one. And but
Mhm.
I would recommend you either get somebody who knows what they're doing. I mean, in sub two, there's a transaction coordinator it's a top tier TC
Yep.
that Molly Tennant put out. It's awesome. We actually are hiring a couple people that have been through it. So we know that they've been trained by the best of the best and that kind of thing. So if you're not somebody like me that wants to learn that
Mhm.
stuff and actually then, pass it off to somebody, definitely going with somebody who has been either in the industry for a while or definitely somebody that's been trained by people that and trust.
Sure. A couple things I love about that is, number one, know yourself, right? You need to pay attention to who you are, how you function, how you learn and operate best. You needed to know the contracts for you to feel comfortable with everything. Somebody else maybe doesn't want anything to do with those contracts and just needs somebody that knows them for them. So know how
Yeah.
you operate best. Great advice for people to understand. And another great thing is, when you're starting, you may have to do more at the beginning just in order to get going. And it's not going to be bad to have this broad knowledge base. But another point that I really like that you made is, in order to scale and move forward more quickly and get to higher levels, you have to focus in on one thing. And you really found that in Gator.
Yeah, definitely. And it's Gator really is, I mean, it's crazy when I started, in sub two, and then maybe 3 months later, Pace put the Gator method out. And I had already, plunked down a lot of money for sub two, which is
Mhm.
well worth it. I've made it back in spades. So that's never, an issue for me at all. But yeah, I mean, Gator came out relatively quickly after I joined sub two, and right as he was talking about it, there was just like hairs on the back of my head that were just kind of like, ooh, that's really up my alley. For some reason, I had no idea really like what it was going to entail. It was
Mhm.
just something like I knew instantly that that was kind of a direction I should go in. And so I just kind of again flailed forward and just was like, okay, take my money. Let's learn what. And at the time, there was nothing out, so we didn't really even know what it was going to be about. And I mean, I can say that I have not even tapped into even maybe 10% of what Gator actually is to make. I mean, all the different paths to make money, and he's also putting more and more and more out, and there's going to be all these different layers and levels of learning. And I mean, for anybody who is looking to, you know, potentially look into something, I mean, Gator method is top. I mean, I don't even know how to explain. Like, it's just like, it's changed my life completely. I mean, I've made probably 100,000 or more in the last 6 months. And like I said, I'm not even doing all of the different methods that you can do within Gator at this point. And I'm kind of just I've actually learned other things outside of it just from being in the community and working with other people. So I'm actually doing something now that's not even put out yet in Gator, you know, just because of working with other people in the community and doing deals and kind of learning hands-on stuff. So yeah, I mean, I am so excited. I'm so happy and grateful that I was able to find, you know, something, but it wasn't something that when I got into Sub 2 or Gator initially, that I thought I'd be doing. Like the things that I'm doing right now are completely different than what I thought initially.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's kind of awesome, right?
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I mean, a huge leap of faith on your part to put down the money and join the program without anything being out yet and just knowing that it's going to come. But by doing that and just taking those steps forward, it eventually led you to Jessa, right? You two connected through that. And now, you know, tell us how you guys got connected.
Yeah. And just to go back a second for, you know, before that too, I mean, when I joined Sub 2 and then Gator, I had just lost my job. I had zero income coming in. I had credit cards maxed out. I was, you know, to say I was like, this is like something needs to happen. And also plunking down money for both programs was hard.
I think there's a lot of people out there that can relate to this right now.
Yeah. So it was an interesting point of my life where it was just like, okay, but I knew in my heart, I was like, real estate and entrepreneurship is where I want to be. And I trusted Pace because he's such a go-giver. And I had already been following him for a long time. I was like, you know what? I know that this is going to work and I know how hard I work. So I am going to make a success of myself regardless, but with the help of people in the mentorships, I know it's going to be fine. And I'm going to excel and I'm going to make the money back and then some. And I mean, definitely. So yeah, then going back into how I met one of my business partners now, Jessa Roberts, we met through a wonderful connector named Giovanni, who I'd had probably one conversation with. At that point, he's also in Sub 2. And, you know, I'd had a wonderful conversation with him about what he was doing and what I was doing in lending. And at the time, I think I had stopped doing TC at the time. So it was just what I wanted to do. And then also what I was doing in the lending sphere. And then he had some conversations with Jessa and, you know, thought that we should chat because we might have some things in common. And you know, I remember that initial conversation with Jessa and, you know, we were like, oh, you know, and we both figured out, you know, that we're both estheticians, you know, so I've been in skincare, you know, part-time for a long time. She's owned a spa for a really long time. So we had that in common. We both grew up in Northern California. So we had a lot in common already. And then it was like, she wanted to get into the lending side. I had been doing, you know, things on the lending side for a year, I think at that point, maybe. So, you know, she saw somebody that, you know, she could learn from, and I saw somebody that also, you know, we aligned on a lot of different things and we just kind of decided to put all of our efforts into, you know, building kind of a lending division, you know, together at that point. So it was just, it was kind of kismet how it all happened.
And it's been nothing but smooth sailing ever since, right? It just automatically exponential growth right off the bat. Everything started coming to you guys. Dreams were answered.
I mean, honestly, I'm gonna say part of that's true, which is so crazy
Yeah.
because I think when you find the right synergy, I mean, not saying everything has gone right, and but I feel like we have we just have this unique, like, we both fill gaps that we each have, right?
Hmm.
So she's got traits that I lack and I learned from her, and I have same, vice versa. So
Yep.
I really feel like it was kind of just this, the synergy there, and being able, and it's not to say we haven't had our little things here or there, but I think we, in general, we have such a strong partnership and such a strong bond, and a drive, for what we're doing and for helping people,
Hmm.
especially, other, especially brand new lenders, or lenders who are, have been, who have had issues, with, losing their money with other deals and things like that.
Hmm.
We really, we both have a heart to help
Sure.
people. And so that's really, what we've tried to accomplish here. And that, I mean, we're just getting started, really. I mean, we've only been a partnership for, I mean, we've been talking for about 8 months or so, and been a legit partnership for about 6.
Yeah.
So it has been very fast, and the success that we are having is really because we put everything into it, and
Sure.
we both want to drive this forward and help people.
Right. And isn't it interesting how 2 or 3 years you were trying to do it on your own and you had a short-term rental, which was successful,
Yeah,
right? And you did some Gator and some TC, which was successful. But once
yeah,
you found that right fit, that partner that doesn't have similar aspects to you, but that complements in that you both fill in where the other person is lacking,
yeah.
then that's when things really started taking off for both of you.
And I've kind of, likened it. I mean, there's a lot of great partnerships out there, but Pace and Cody, it
Hmm.
really, like, they have a great partnership, and, the things that they're doing are massive, together. But I don't think either of them could do that without each other.
Right.
They're both really successful on their own too, but there's something. It's like rocket fuel. You just, like, something comes together, and it's the right thing, and you just go, okay, yeah, this is it. And then put you start flailing forward, and you start
Yeah.
figuring things out. And we are still figuring things out, and we are growing and expanding so quickly. I mean, I went from doing a few deals a month to now we're funding right now 35 to 40 deals a month.
Right.
So it's, we're in that growing stage and growing pains of, now we have to hire people quickly, and but we also have to have time to do that. And
Yeah.
so there's a lot of flailing and a lot of forward movement.
Right. Well, tell us a little bit more about what you two are doing, what you're doing in your business now, and what you're looking for, what you might need in your business currently.
Yeah, so we're right now, we've kind of, when we first started, we were just kind of doing the same model of what I was doing, which was, looking for, deals that we could basically pair together. We paired together, we would find opportunities that an investor needed lending on,
Hmm.
like a fix and flip or whatever that was. And then we would find we would find the capital for it, and then just kind of do the paperwork in between, and kind of just have it wouldn't be that we were connecting people. We were really hands on, helping the whole thing, get to the finish line. And in doing so, and then kind of putting our heads together, we realized, well, to really scale this, maybe we need to kind of step back, because there was a lot of time. We were kind of, it's almost like we felt like we were wasting so much time looking at all these deals. And a lot of them, if anyone here listening has ever done anything like that, there's a lot of deals that you look at and they're garbage, and you don't end up, lending on or doing, or whatever, the case may be. And so we're spending a lot of time underwriting and doing things like that. And we just started talking about how we could streamline it and make it more scalable.
Hmm.
So we ended up kind of coming up with what we have, which is, we have 2 different programs, where we work with high volume investors, and we are capital raising for each of their individual deals. So we've got 3 now, and we're hoping to maybe in the next few months onboard maybe another 2 or 3. But
Mhm.
right now we have 3 investor partners that do between 10 and 20 or so deals a month. And when you reach that level or even higher, capital raising is a full-time job. So they're out there sourcing deals and doing everything and then getting capital too. And that can be like having capital relationships and, pairing things, just working with everything that just takes up so much time. So we've been able to come in as the capital raisers for these 3 investor partners.
Mhm.
And now they can put all their energy into finding good deals and, getting them to the finish line and getting capital paid back. We bring in the capital for each individual deal, and then they're able to just focus on what they need to do and to grow their business and scale from there. And then we can kind of come in and manage all that. So we find our own capital relationships and we educate them on what the deal is and what their payback is going to be, and then kind of manage everything in between and get it all done. So
Mhm.
we've been able to scale really quickly, just even with 3 people. As you can imagine, we've got 35 or so 35, 40 deals a month.
Yeah.
And we're able to just kind of put all of our efforts into that
Sure.
and help them out, and then help people get into lending opportunities that are safe. We vet everybody. Obviously, we only have right now 3 investor partners, but we background check, we check HUDs, we check
Mhm.
references. We do a lot to make sure that, we want to make sure that, and we stay on them too, to make sure that we're not just kind of putting money in and then walking away. In some of these, we're actually partners as well.
Mhm.
So that really just, it behooves all of us for everybody to accomplish the same goal. And we're not just kind of setting it up and walking away. We're really, coming in and helping them, on a business level too, to just, hey, keep everything like running like clockwork and as best as we can. Obviously,
Right.
there's, as we know, in real estate, there's things can go wrong, but if your eyes are on it at all times, you mitigate a lot of risk that way. So that's
Yeah.
where we come in, and we want the best for every deal we do or every deal we're a part of. So we have a huge responsibility there,
Sure.
with our investor partners and our capital partners.
Right. I think one of the great things that you guys do, you're like the ultimate connectors, but sometimes a connector will connect 2 people, say, you guys figure it out, I'm out. And instead of doing
Mhm.
that, you guys are in this all the way through to the end. You get everybody connected, but you're also making sure that the deal closed, that the capital partner gets paid out, that the deal is good in the first place. So you guys are watching this and sort of monitoring it the entire transaction from funding to close and payout and ongoing. And that's one of the things I think that probably the reason you guys have so many people interested in working with you is because they know there's that safety aspect there, and that you guys are not just introducing and bailing, you're in
Yeah.
this with them through the entire process.
Yeah, and if anything were to happen, we're going to also be there sort of trying to make things right. And that's really like we only work with capital, or sorry, investor partners that also have similar hearts as we do. Like,
Hmm.
people that's why we only have 3 right now, because we actually were looking at a couple others, and they just didn't, match up with what how we work and what we wanted. And the money is, great, but it's, do we want to work with this person? Do they have a heart to make sure, if stuff does go down, they're gonna take care of people that need to be taken care of. So
Yeah.
that's really important to us, in everything that we do, because we know things are gonna happen sometimes, and we just want to make sure that everybody's taken care of, and we
Hmm.
have we have that kind of heart, and so do our investor partners.
Yeah, and that's not always easy to find in this day and age. So that's great. In the few minutes that we have left, what are a couple lessons that you guys have learned from scaling so quickly? Is there anything that difficulties you've run into, kind of things you wish you would have done differently from the start, anything like that?
Whew, I would say, I think I've put off, building SOPs and, training somebody probably too long.
Mhm.
I do think that, you kind of, in my head, I'm really just trying to make sure everything's going right in the day to day. And that's the biggest thing for me is like, I don't want any balls to drop. I want to make sure that everything is taken care of and everybody's happy. And, that's a big job when you're talking about 20, 30 deals a month, 40 deals a month. So I've definitely put off a little bit making the time because, as you know, like I work long hours and I'm, there's a lot of, I probably could have maybe a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, really carved out even just an hour a week
Yeah.
trying to find and train somebody.
Yep.
Because now at this point I am just working so much and trying to keep things on the rails and everything. So is Jessa. So
Yeah.
it's I think telling yourself, yes, I need to do this, yes, I need to do this isn't enough. I would say it's just an hour. Even if it's 2 half an hours or 4 15 minutes a week, find and train somebody and get some of the menial tasks off your plate that just kind of bog you down. That's what I'm doing now. Do I wish I would
Mhm.
have done that a month or two ago? Yes.
Mhm.
So it's hurting more now
Right.
that we're at this level. So we should have probably done it a little earlier. We were definitely talking about it. We were definitely looking for people and sort of talking to people. So it was in the process. It's just I've definitely put that off a little bit longer than I should have just because time, not really committing to, taking some of the time away from those deals to actually do that. But it would have helped me a lot more if I would have done it a little earlier. So that is one thing it's not too bad, but I'm doing it now and I've got somebody probably taking over about 10 hours of work
Mhm.
starting this next week. And then once she's up and running, she's potentially going to take some more time off, with other parts of our the things that we do. So I'm going to hopefully get 20, maybe 25 hours back eventually after over the next month or two.
Yeah.
And that'll be great because then I can focus on the higher level stuff and growing the business and scaling it a little bit more with her. So
Right.
that's the goal.
That's really good. A number of really great lessons have come out of this, things that have been discovered. I think just to kind of summarize real quick from your initial experience, make sure you're doing your due diligence, make sure you're working with trustworthy partners, and going it alone is very difficult and slow and time consuming, but going it alone is better than not going at all. Don't get
Yeah.
caught up in analysis paralysis, take the steps, flail forward, make some progress. I think a couple other great lessons were find your niche and focus on it, right?
Yeah.
And that's really what's going to help you. And then find a partner that is synergistic with you and that brings the things that you don't. Don't find someone that you're similar to. Find someone that brings the aspects that you lack in order to really take off. And then, like you said, make sure from the start you build your business quickly and put those things in place that are going to allow you to offload the lower level tasks and the lower paying tasks so that when you're at a higher level and your time is much more valuable, you're not having to step back and take that time to do it down the road. So is that a pretty good summary of things you've learned over the course of this journey?
Amen. Yes. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we're pretty much about out of time here, but Heather, tell them where people can find you if they want to connect, if they want to try and do deals with you, if they got money that they want to lend, where can they get you?
Yeah, if you've got money you want to lend, we've got amazing programs I can tell you about offline. And also, if you're potential investor partner that is doing 10 or more deals a month, right now we have wraps and Section 8s that we do with our investor partners. So if anybody's doing those or anything else that they might need capital raising for, definitely reach out. I am Heather Witzig right there right there on Instagram and YouTube. So yeah, you can reach out. Instagram's a great place. Also on Facebook, but yeah, Instagram's a little bit you're going to get probably a little faster results from Instagram at the moment. Says the hundreds of messages I still am slowly trying to get through on Facebook. Sorry, everyone.
Eventually.
I'm trying. I try, and then they just keep popping back in. So, anyways. But yeah, I love to talk to anybody in those, and also just love to help people when I have time as well. So if anybody needs anything in the sub 2 and Gator communities or outside, definitely hit me up, and I'm always trying to connect with new people as well.
Perfect. Great. For anybody that's made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Hope you got some value out of this. I'm at the Dustin J on Instagram. You can see that right there. If you want to know more about the Sub 2 community, the Gator community, or what we're doing, our links are in our bios. You can go ahead and click on that, and you can connect with us. You can find out what we're looking for, what kind of work we're doing, or you can find out more about the communities that we're part of if you want to. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.
And guess who's gonna get an interview next?
Jessa?
No, my amazing co-host Dustin Seiler is going to be on the hot seat next to the next episode. So stay tuned as we are going to dive into that.
Woo! There we go. All right, guys. Until next time, thank you for watching. Go out there and flail a little bit, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.